and welcome to our session, Women in Clinical Engineering as Leaders in Healthcare, what everyone can learn from our knowledge as well as experience. We have a panel with a wide breadth, in-depth of experience in clinical engineering from South Africa to the US, and they'll be introducing themselves shortly to you. Today during our panel, you're going to hear these four great speakers, Leade Modipa, Priyanka Apendra, myself, Jennifer DeFrancesco, as well as Shiga Daniels. We're going to be sharing our unique perspectives on our roles in clinical engineering, as well as our experiences as women in clinical engineering. I'm going to introduce Leade Modipa to tell you a little bit more about herself and her experiences in clinical engineering.
Hey, my name is Leade Modipa. I am a qualified clinical engineering technician based in South Africa. What is a clinical engineering technician, you may ask? A clinical engineering technician, speaking from a hospital perspective, is an individual or group of individuals who are responsible for ensuring that all medical devices within the hospital environment are in full working condition. It's important that a clinical engineering technician is part of the bigger hospital management team because they ensure that the correct medical devices are actually purchased for the facility and also able to motivate exactly which equipment would be suitable for the use within the hospital. How do we ensure that a clinical engineering department is actually supported is that the hospital management team needs to ensure that all the resources needed by the clinical engineering department are available for them for use, because this will ensure that the work is continuously done to the highest quality levels. I am probably repeating myself here, but what can be learned from the clinical engineering department is that because they are in the forefront of the medical industry and know exactly what is available in the industry, you are able to make better decisions about the medical devices purchased for your facility, and you are able to understand how equipment is utilized, because it doesn't make sense to purchase a piece of equipment if we know that it is not going to be utilized to its full capability within the facility. And finally, how do we ensure the continuous growth of the industry? I think that because not a lot of people know about clinical engineering, and I'm speaking about this from a South African perspective, is that we need to go out there and actually teach and show people in universities that this is an option for you to study and this is what you would be doing within the industry. So the more we go out there and introduce the industry to the new learners, the more that you will find that more people will come within the industry and that we will be able to actually continue and grow the industry. We also need to ensure that the industry of clinical engineering is recognized everywhere.
Thank you, Leade. This is Priyanka here, and I wanted to introduce about some of the unique skill sets that women leaders bring to the healthcare technology management or the clinical engineering field, and also talk about a few challenges that women leaders face in the field. So I think one of the more unique skill sets that women bring is emotional intelligence and critical thinking. So emotional intelligence and critical thinking both really allows women leaders to, have that self-awareness, self-regulate through different situations, and also demonstrate empathy to team members and others that they work with. So that really allows them to influence a more diverse population in all of the responsibilities that we have within the HTMCE field. At the same time, that skill set in, that trait in emotional intelligence also allows women leaders to adapt to different changing environments, whether that's technological or, program related. It really allows us to adapt to different situations and demonstrate competence in that. At the same time, women leaders really have the ability to communicate effectively. And that allows them to drive quality interactions with different stakeholders, whether that's within the HTMCE team or with the clinicians or supply chain or information technology, or even vendors and distributors. While all of these are the unique skill sets that women leaders bring to the table, along the same lines, we also have some challenges. As a professional myself and a women leader, we've often seen disparities related to age and gender. So whether you're a young professional, young women leader, there's always a perception that there's some inexperience involved, or they're not communicating effectively because of the gender. So there are a lot of disparities we deal with that. And that also relates to the indifference that we notice with our communications, especially as a leader, just our ability to have those crucial conversations with team members, or even something like having a corrective action related conversation. So a lot of the skills that are viewed more normal with male leaders, we find there's an indifference with women leaders, and some are often looked at as more aggressive or not so nice to work with. That also relates to the third point here, where because of that indifferent perception, we have a lot of women leaders that are not able to express themselves more confidently while addressing that diverse population. So they actually hold back on what they're intending to do or how they demonstrate their leadership skills. So really, I think those are some of the important areas that we need to focus on as professionals, and make sure that we have, equity with women and men leaders. And at the same time, there's really not some sort of a bias related to, behaviors or how we perceive those behaviors. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Priya. That was really a great point, or great points that you brought. I think building upon what Priya was talking about, I think one of the things we need to focus on is the importance of acquired diversity in clinical engineering. And for those of you who acquired diversity isn't maybe as familiar as traditional diversity, like race, gender, things of that nature, acquired diversity is the diversity in our skill sets, backgrounds, and our unique perspectives we bring. So two people who may have the same ethnic or gender background may have different degrees, different experiences, have worked in private sector, public sector, all of those things that kind of make us unique. And I think one of the things that we saw as clinical engineers for a very long time was we kept hiring the same people. They had the same degrees, they were from the same areas. And so now we're really seeing hiring practices that broaden that depth and breadth of the people that we're bringing on. They have project management skills, they have IT skills. So we're really seeing a diversification in our acquired diversity. And I truly believe if we focus on acquired diversity, traditional diversity also starts to come with that, and then we can work and do that in a more intentional way. And also we have diverse patient populations. So we need a diverse skill set in all of our healthcare staff, including clinical engineers, to meet the needs of this diverse patient population. I think more importantly than ever, I'll say this post-COVID time, even though we know it's not post-COVID, we really need to understand patient needs and values. So patients are going to change the way that they interact with our care, and they interact with what they need. They're going to likely continue to do more things remotely, likely to want more healthcare in the home. So we're going to see this change in how people interact with us and how they need our healthcare services. Also, public health and international health. I think this is a huge place where clinical engineers need to really lean in, not only in our daily work, that tactical, but research, publications, and honestly, not being afraid to use our clinical engineering skills and the data that we have from our equipment, from our CMMSs, more to publish research that's more closely related to healthcare delivery paradigms and actual outcomes for patients. Also, the need for standardization. There's so much we can do as a field. We have a great leader at the World Health Organization who's really driving this. And this is something that we can all really pitch into. And at the end of the day, I think most of the women here and all the clinical engineers probably reading, there's no exchange for sweat equity, just that hard work that you need to do each day.
Thank you, Jenna. Those were such insightful points, and I think things that anyone should keep in mind to succeed in this field. So I'm Shiga Daniel. I'm based in South Africa, where I manage clinical engineering in one of the leading private hospital groups called Life Healthcare. Just an interesting stat that I thought I'd share is 34% of our clinical engineering team consist of females, and this statistic is on the rise. I'd like to talk about the value proposition of clinical engineering. And I'll start with recognition or the lack of it, which is a phrase that I hear on repeat from clinical engineers, both in South Africa and across the world. And as much as I believe this is true to a certain extent, I do believe it is an opportunity that we have, particularly now where we see a lot of the dynamics are changing. With the rapid acceleration of healthcare technology, and particularly with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, I have no doubt that as clinical engineers, we are absolutely at the right place at the right time and really positioned for success. So what would this look like? Well, as clinical engineers, we've got to talk louder to make our voices heard. We've got to be more creative to motivate for and actually acquire the resources we need. And we've got to push harder for those seats at the leadership table to influence decisions for better. As we know that medical devices are at the core of healthcare, and as custodians of these devices, we really are the ultimate enablers, whether that is with a clinician that is trying to better patient outcomes through optimizing utilization of a medical device, or whether it is through a billing team that we need to acquaint with the technology that's being used to provide a sustainable product. I mean, our reach extends as far as inventory control departments in hospitals that are looking to optimize their consumable utilization, and even to help insurance funders or providers to position the right technology to better patient care and clinical outcomes. So, these are just a sampling of healthcare touch points that we can impact on as clinical engineers, and that we haven't even started on traditional CE KPIs. So in closing, let's not forget, we have unique vantage points and tools and skill sets, and we have extensive healthcare real estate that we can impact positively on. So let's not wait for others to recognize the field, but let us actively and collectively live the value proposition of clinical engineering. Thank you.
Shiga, just what a great take home for everyone here, and great insights. And I can't thank you all enough for sharing with everyone today. And for those who are watching, we're really looking forward to connecting with you guys in the live Q&A here at the Congress. So thank you again, and we'll be talking with you soon.